Alright, welcome back to Make It Mental, everybody. Today we're going to talk about servo placement. I try not to recover things that I already done and try to only post videos of things I have done in case I miss any kind of gaps. And this, what I'm holding here in my hand, is called a linear servo, for those of you who have never seen it before. And you'll typically find those in ultralight RC airplanes, usually for indoor flights. So I forget the gram rating on it, but by comparison, to my left here is a 9-gram servo. And I used those 9-gram servos in the previous two builds in a 1/32 scale vehicle. Now this is the Iron Man Camaro diecast collectible that we're turning into RC. So ideally, I'd like to have this joker mounted up front, but there's just not enough room in there because the servo horn is going to hit the mounting screw. And it seems like every single one of these that I've built so far always wants to be in the way of where the body mounts. It seems like a what can go wrong will go wrong type of factor. I don't know how better to explain that, but it's not that it's necessarily wrong, it's just something that needs to be overcome. Now, you could make a push-pull steering configuration and angle it out and have the steering rod connect from the servo here to that little rod that it's touching right there, and then loop back around to that little joker right there. You could do that. I am not that motivated personally. I want function, so I'm going to mount it in here, which is going to take up some space, but it is what it is. I did also think about mounting it upside down like this, but there's not enough hood clearance because I want the doors to open, because the doors do open on this guy. Let's see if I can open one up one-handed here. See, the doors open. And there's just not enough clearance if I stick this in there. I mean, there might be, but I think the gear, just visually, I think the gear is going to rub on that little spring right there. So you got to take all these little things into mind. Ideally, since you can't take a good measurement, I know for a fact that the body runs right along this edge right here, all around that edge. And so technically this is free space. All that's free space. But there just isn't any getting around this screw horn right here in order to make room. Just no getting around it, no matter what I do. If I turn it up sideways, the servo horn runs into it. If I run it upside down, it runs into it. If I mount it upside down on the body, there's just not enough room. So ideally, if you want to calculate your room, the room you have between your chassis and your body here, you'd use like a piece of clay. But I just did a rough guesstimation. Put the body on top of the chassis, so roughly, and then I measured from here to the top of the hood. Then I'm minus 1/8 of an inch because I don't know how thick that metal is, but I figured 1/8 of an inch is safe, and that does not give me enough clearance. So those are little things you have to keep in mind when building a custom project. There's one other thing I wanted to say. I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. Drawing a blank. Hold on. Oh, I highly recommend starting on the drivetrain first. Whatever project it may be, no matter how big or how small, I would start on the drivetrain first. There's no point in going any further on a vehicle if you can't make the tires turn. If you can't make them go forward and backward, there is no point in going any further. That is your number one problem. You got to come up with a motor and a gear or shaft or some sort of drivetrain that makes the tires move for propulsion. Once you figure that out, then I would tackle your steering. That is the next most important thing. And then wherever that ends up being, however it needs to be done, you got to work this area here for your electronics. And thankfully, since this servo is so much smaller than the previous two, I should still have quite a bit of space in here to make something happen. Alright, I hope that helps you guys out who may consider a custom build one day. Have a good day.